Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're jumping straight into one of the absolute most ruthless realities in the offshore industry. We're going to look at how to navigate macroeconomic pressure by treating the global oil price as what it truly is, an unforgiving horizontal line. This isn't just about market fluctuations. It's literally about engineering survival. So let's dive right in.
Okay, let's look at the numbers that frame basically every strategic conversation you're going to have in the boardroom. Saudi Arabia breaks even right around $9.90 a barrel. Brazil, they're sitting around $48.80. And the UK is up around $52.50. I mean, think about that. That is a massive five-fold spread in global break-even costs on the exact same commodity. Because of that giant spread, when the oil price falls, it really doesn't punish everyone equally. What it actually does is draw a horizontal line straight across the world map. And every single barrel of oil sitting above that line, it simply stops being produced. It just doesn't make economic sense anymore.
So your primary job as an executive is to know exactly where your projects sit relative to that horizontal line, and you've got to know it well before that line moves. Because a price environment that is just, a bit uncomfortable for one operator, it'll be absolutely terminal for another.
Section 2, the lower for longer era. So what exactly happens when that horizontal line doesn't just dip, but actually stays flat? Well, we enter the lower for longer era. Now, for years, the industry mindset was just to ride out the storm, right? Put the projects on hold, wait for the price to recover. But lower for longer is fundamentally different. It's a sustained plateau. You can't just wait it out. You have to actively engineer your way around it.
And the strategic consequence of that plateau is, well, it's pretty blunt. If you cannot get your development costs below that horizontal line, absolutely no amount of execution excellence is going to save your project. Cost reduction completely stops being this nice little efficiency exercise for management, and it becomes a strict survival condition for the entire development.
Moving on to Section 3, Technical Fix, Subsea Factories.
So, if we actually have to engineer a solution, what does that look like in the real world? Well, the biggest technical trend is taking processing facilities entirely off the surface platform and moving them all the way down onto the seabed. The ultimate proof point for this is the Statoil Gulfax project, which features the world's first subsea wet gas compressor. By compressing the gas directly at the seabed instead of way up at the surface, you radically lower the wellhead pressure. Because physics is actually on your side down there, it pulls significantly more gas right out of the reservoir. This is exactly how you change the game technically.
Section 4, Commercial Fix, Strategic JVs. But as we know, engineering is really only half the battle, right? We also need a commercial fix. The counterpart to that subsea factory is the rise of strategic joint ventures, like TechnipFMC's Forces Subsea. The logic behind these massive partnerships is actually incredibly simple, but man is it effective. Every single interface you eliminate through integration removes a cost line, a schedule risk, and a potential legal dispute. By integrating subsea production and installation into just one single scope, you're operating with fewer parties. And fewer parties means fewer battery limits where things can go horribly wrong.
It helps to think of it kind of like a supermarket buying its own farm. In a traditional setup, you've got 4 middlemen between the field and the shelf. That means 4 different profit margins being tacked on and 4 risky handovers. But if you vertically integrate, like that supermarket owning the farm, or the subsea contractor owning their own installation vessels, you drop to just 1 margin and 0 handovers. Cut those handovers, and you cut structural costs that literally no amount of tough negotiation could have ever released. It's huge. Section 5, the executive choice.
All right, let's bring this all together and put you right in the hot seat. Here's your scenario. Your development project breaks even at $55 a barrel, but the forward price forecast is stubbornly flat at $50. So you've got a $5 gap. Do you push your teams to drive harder on operational execution, or do you step back and change the entire engineering concept? The answer? You change the concept. Every time. You move to a subsea tieback, a phase development, or an integrated joint venture scope. And why? Because execution efficiency, just executing the same plan a little bit better, that only moves your break-even by a few percent. A concept change? That moves it by tens of percent. You simply cannot close a $5 structural gap just by telling your yard to work faster. It just doesn't work that way. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to take away from today's explainer. Don't try to close a structural gap with an operational lever. When the market draws that unforgiving horizontal line, you don't survive by running the wrong race faster. You survive by changing the rules of the race entirely.
So I want you to ask yourself, looking at your own projects right now, are you pulling an operational lever when what you really need is a structural fix?